I'm fucking up on fasting. I'm fucking up on minimalism. I don't know why anybody even watches this shit anymore. Welcome to another motherfucking podcast, or not podcast, live stream. See, I'm all fucked up this week. I don't even know how I managed to run this channel anymore. So, we're at another live stream. I busted my ass and made some upgrades, so now we're in actual 1080p instead of the usual 720p. Video quality still looks like I wiped my ass with it, but it's a lot better than it was, and seems to be streaming all right, but you never know. That shit could go wrong. Not sure if okay, yeah, sounds looking good. So everything's looking fucking good. As many of you know, during my live streams, I generally have a, topic to talk about that I run through a spiel in which I can't see, what's going on with the chat, because if I do, I'll get distracted or something. I got issues. And so please save your questions for the Q&A after it. Not a long topic today. I'm sure I'll go off on a little bit of a tangent. But some things I want to get into is time management as it relates to minimalism, because it's something I'm struggling with at the moment. And then also, I came across another New York Times article that I wanted to comment on. It seems like New York Times is a little schizophrenic in terms of whether or not, what we're doing is good or bad as far as the stuff that I'm talking about all the time. But we'll get to that when I get to that. As always, the links to all of this shit will be in the description. I actually am on the ball today, and all the links are actually right now in the description for everything I'm going to talk about. And, of course, for the usual call to action shit of supporting the channel. So, just at a glance, I want to say hi to Erfrin, Spive21, and Rachel, Rochelle, I butcher names, my bad, who have all shown up so far. And feel free to talk amongst yourselves. And then, as usual, we'll go through the chat afterwards. So, I've been reading a book about minimalism. It's an audio book, so it's not like I'm really fucking reading it. But the book I've been currently consuming is called Goodbye Things: The New Japanese Minimalism. And so far the book has been focused mainly on, decluttering, getting rid of all the objects in your life that are weighing you down, and all of that stuff. And that's really kind of the easier part of minimalism. There's a part of minimalism that is very difficult. It's, if you start applying minimalist philosophies to other areas of your life, you do get the same amount of improvement, as in not spending time doing things that detract from your quality of life, that have no meaningful fulfillment, so to speak, that do not give you enough return on investment as far as fulfillment and happiness and contentment. And, there's a lot of activities that we do all the time. One of the things I can think of that may bring me a little momentary thing of pleasure, but really is not a productive or efficient or great way to spend my time in terms of quality of life, and that's flicking through this fucking thing all the time. We're all doing this. I was working in the bar last night, and I looked around the bar at one point, and almost everyone in the bar was going like this. They weren't talking to each other. They were, they weren't interacting. They were just kind of... And I see it on Uber all the time, too. People get in my Uber. Perfect opportunity for some conversation, and they're just like, oh, yeah. Shut up. Fucking take me where I'm going. Stop talking to me, asshole. Not everyone's like this, of course. But that's just a small example of some of the activities that we do that aren't providing fulfillment. And, the other part of it is spending time working. And to, of course, get the money to survive, to pay our debts, which is another failure of mine. I did increase my debt at the same time, preaching that we need to get out of debt, because debt equals time that you have to spend making the money to pay off that debt. So whatever you had that debt for better be damn fucking good. In my case, it's a car. It's going to provide a lot of value for me. I'm using it to make money also, so it is an investment, not just a, splurge or anything like that. But there's a lot of material possessions that we go out and buy that don't do much for us. And, I'm getting better about that. I've been restructuring, cleaning out shit, organizing shit, and slowly decluttering. So decluttering's not really my issue, but my issue is I get these ambitions. There's so much, I'm so focused on this channel and growing it and trying to make it fucking grow. It's in putting in tons of work versus income, obviously, just in hopes of generating, more subscribers, more views, and growing and getting the message out, not just for my sake of survival, but for the sake of everyone and their health and their weight loss. And I'm really passionate. I'm like almost part activist at this point. Someone might even call me that. I'd like to think I'm a influencer or a fucking, advocate for keto, fasting, minimalism, and other, in how to treat addiction. And, I work on my own depression and stuff too. So there's all kinds of things that I'm trying to do that I share with everybody so that they can also help themselves. So that goal is still there. So even if I never got paid doing this channel, I would still produce videos because I feel that that's that important. It's just a matter of how much time I could devote to it given the amount of income. But lately I'll sit down at, generally Monday morning, I come up with a game plan for the week. Usually I have a list of shit I gotta research. I have a list of shit I gotta watch. Then I try and come up with the videos for the week. I decide whether or not I'm going to do the live stream. I decide whether or not I'm going to do the podcast. And I feel like the quality of my videos and my, content is slipping a little bit because I'm spending so much time in production that I'm not really taking the time to consume and read and do enough research. And really, that's not doing you guys any justice. And it stresses me the fuck out when I make that plan at the beginning of the week. Sorry, I just hit a button on accident. When I make that plan at the beginning of the week, that's very aggressive. I'm going to try and pump out 5 fucking videos and a podcast and a live stream all in one week. And then I realize while I'm doing it that it takes me 2 days to get a video from, being recorded all the way out to you guys. So that's not really, I set these unrealistic goals that demand and lock myself in to working 60, 70 hours a week sometimes, and then going out and working outside of the bounds of YouTube. So I'm spreading myself very thin, and that's not very minimalist of me. I need to be more efficient. I need to set more realistic goals. I need to rein it in a little bit, and that's what I plan on doing. And I tried to do it this week and I failed. I was like, I'm going to work 40 hours this week. here I am, I'm working through the weekend. You know, I'll be doing the podcast at some point this weekend. I have a photo client this weekend. And it's just, I need to start reining in how ambitious my goals are so that I have time to pursue more meaningful shit. For example, I have a hobby, you know, at this point of I want to get into filmmaking. I want to get into, you know, and I do have my foot in the door of the local filmmaking community. And one of the things I got to do that will help this channel as well, but it's something it's going to take time and practice to do, is I got this fucking thing right here. It's a Steadicam. It's so I can put my DSLR on top of this fucking thing, you know, and move it around and shit, so that it's stable. You don't get all the shaky footage. And I really want to learn how to do that, especially for, you know, when I do adventure videos and stuff, so that I can give you some nice, good, smooth footage. But it takes time to practice with that. I have to go out and just kind of shoot with it and try and track moving subjects and shit. But I haven't allotted myself time to do that yet. And on top of that, I'm dating now. So I have a social life that has grown, and you know, I feel like I've been neglecting my friend Chris, but to be fair, he's been busy as fuck too, so we're both kind of struggling with this area of our life. And you know, I'm starting to realize how important it is to not just make time for the business and for making money and for bringing in income and for generating growth and for, you know, constantly spending all of my time, energy, and drive. Like, I'm always working. I'm one of them fuckers in the bar staring at the phone because I'm checking my YouTube shit. I'm checking my emails. I'm checking the website. I'm always keeping track of what's going on and keeping up with everything you guys send. And I do the best I can. I don't get to everyone, and it gets hectic. But I also realize I need to make room for living, for life, for enjoyment of the fruits of why I came off the road in the first place. And that's to get out there and experience life. So I'm going to have to rein it in a little bit. You won't see a change, really. You know, it's basically I've been pushing to go past a certain point, working hard to go past a certain point, and only delivering a couple videos a week and a live stream and a podcast. So that's still a lot of content, and I don't think that's an unreasonable amount of content. There's a lot of things I can do in my workflow to do that. So I'm going to start sitting down and organizing so that I can more efficiently work. That'll help me produce more content. But I also need to take time to research, to go through articles, to read scientific studies, to go through the mail that you guys send me, the emails, and read all of that shit. And I need to make sure that I can continue to evolve and stay current with the science, the knowledge, and everything that's out there. Not that I'm not doing that, but I think I've leaned too heavily on pumping out videos and less heavily on the research side. I am one human being, and at the same time, I need to cut back from 70 hours to 40 hours on YouTube a week. You know, I initially said the goal was to work 40 hours a week on YouTube. And ever since I came off the road, I've never worked that low on the scale of hours for YouTube. So I need to try and sit down and get more organized. And that's part of the minimalism. It's being more intentional with your time, not spending time doing things that aren't fulfilling or don't serve a purpose in your life. And right now, I'm spending too much time on the productivity side and not enough on the social and, more leisurely side. Because if you don't get that, then doing all of the productive work will lead to burnout. Sooner or later, you're going to be like, I'm done. I'm tired. I can't do this, that kind of shit. And it's about finding that balance. And as you become minimalist and you get rid of all the extra shit in your life to where you're in a little ass room and, you have a small amount of things to manage, You're hopefully debt free. It'll be a while before I'm there again, but I'm working on that, and I'm working on it diligently. And like I said, the thing that I'm in debt for is interest free and also making me money. So, I'll be good to go probably within a year, hopefully, if I work hard enough at the other income streams. Now, some people take a shit on like Uber and all of that. It's still doing what I need it to do. There are days where I get pissed off by them, but then there's days where, like Tuesday, I unexpectedly made $26 an hour because there was a surge and nobody was working and everybody wanted to go somewhere, and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and 3x surge, and there I go, $26 an hour. So that was pretty fucking badass. But I need to balance that too. That's not fun or fulfilling at all. That is a means to an end. Work a certain amount of time, get a certain amount of money for a certain purpose. But it's very intentional. And, the reason I chose Uber is that if I know I'm going to spend a certain amount of money, I can just go out, turn the app on, make specifically that amount of money, whether it's filling up the car with gas, maybe it's going out to dinner with somebody, or something like that. I go, I work, I make the money, then I go and I spend the money, and then I don't do any additional work or any more time than needed to accomplish that task. And coming from a world where I used to work all the time, specifically at this unfulfilling job of trucking, which it wasn't fulfilling for me, and, just to pile up money and then end up wasting the money doing things that weren't fulfilling, and St. Lucia really opened my eyes to that, if I could have gone to St. Lucia every year for the last fucking 14 years, I had the money passed through my hands, didn't have the time, didn't have the energy, wasted a lot of the money doing things that brought me an hour or two of pleasure, and was miserable most of the time, and depressed and upset and just in a shitty mood all the time. So that's kind of where I'm at. I've been struggling this week, and it's taken a little bit of a toll, but I'm getting back on the fucking horse like I tell you guys all the time. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. We can get into more of this during the Q&A portion of the live stream. But before we get into that, a little bit of a subject change off of the topic of minimalism, and I guess the summary of that is minimalism isn't just about getting rid of shit and getting out of debt. It's also about only spending time in a fulfilling, meaningful way, as in being more intentional with how we spend our time, what we spend our money on, because money equals time. It takes time to make that money, so every purchase you make is important in that regard, and that's a lens that I take with me now whenever I do buy something. And that's not to say I don't buy things, like entertainment or anything like that. I do. And I understand the cost and time, not money, how much time it takes me to pay for, like, going to a movie or buying a Blu-ray or, playing a video game. I understand the time it took, and I better, get more pleasure, more time back than I put into it. That's kind of how I weigh that. If I go and spend $20 going to see a movie, that movie is usually longer than 2 hours. And, it better be enjoyable, or I'll feel that I wasted a moment of my time. And it's looking at things through that lens. And it's different for everyone. Different people have different pleasures and different things that they enjoy doing. For me, I enjoy, being creative. I enjoy going out and without an agenda, without somebody telling me I have to get something done, or feeling the pressure that I put on myself to do something, and doing just like creative things. That's why I've tried to integrate the adventure videos into the channel, is I want to try and mold together my passions, aside from health, obviously, but the things I enjoy doing, my leisurely activities, in with the channel and sharing it with you guys. And you guys definitely, gave me a lot of positive feedback about the St. Lucia video. So there's going to be travel this year, road trips, car camping, minimalist budget travel, how to be ketogenic during these situations, how to fast your way through rough, or expensive time periods, stuff like that. So I'm going to be doing a lot in this realm this summer, and I want to prepare you guys for that because this is something that's important to me to help have a more fulfilling life, to justify the fact that I left the corporate world and have struck out here as an entrepreneur on multiple levels. And as a YouTuber, being YouTube still being my main goal. I want this to be my main career, so to speak, with everything else just supplementing. And so far, that's how it's been, and I hope we can continue that. So, the New York Times. Gotta love the New York Times. They came out with this lovely article that came across. I believe it was one of the, maybe Dr. Ludwig posted it. One of the doctors I follow sent this. I'll put this out over the feed. Let me bring it up here. In the sweeping war on fucking obesity, Chile slays Tony the Tiger. Well, that's very sensationalized fucking headline. But this article is linked in the description, so next time you're going to take a dump, I highly recommend you do this. And you read the article, because I thought it was fucking awesome. Now, they're basically every extreme governmental regulation you could think of against sugar and processed foods that could be put in place, Chile's done it. They got soda tax, 15%. They're banning all advertisement to children. There's a whole bunch of shit that because they had an obesity epidemic and it was growing out of control, out of the bounds of control. As we scroll through, you can see all of the health problems that could arise from this. They're calling it the poison of our time, and that's sugar and processed foods, what they're talking about. And it's nice when I see entire countries doing something about this, because here in the States, all we're doing about it is writing shit in the New York Times. And, I'm constantly out in the world struggling with this. I'm going to go full screen again for this. But I wanted to point that article out. Links in the description. And rarely do I endorse anything the New York Times does. But, as you can see at the bottom here, they want me to subscribe, or I can't read any more of their shit. Maybe when they're a little bit less fear-mongering and sensationalizing clickbaity, I would consider a subscription. But until they, end their divisiveness and they're just kind of playing on everyone's fear and anxiety, then maybe I would consider paying to read their articles. But so far, they're at about a 60-40 split. 40 being articles that I approve of and 60 being articles that piss me off or trigger me. And while you're at that ratio, I don't find you a valuable news source. That's my review of the New York Times. Less bias, more facts would be nice too. But be that as it may, they get a thumbs up. And you want more of these thumbs up, New York Times. Start doing some real journalism on real issues that are affecting a lot of people. And obesity, prediabetes, sugar, processed foods are an epidemic that is affecting people's, metabolic health, their obesity, their mental health. I am convinced that sugar is a big factor in depression and all of the, pretty much, stressed out, constant, fucked up mental health that a lot of people that I know personally and that I've met in my life and I've seen are experiencing, and we're not even thinking of addressing that aspect of it. We're more focused on what we can see, and that's the obesity. But what we can't see are the people that are in pain in a closed room in their fucking bed all day long, sad and miserable, because biochemically speaking, they're prone to being depressed. And they're going to be depressed because there's a lot of depressing shit. They're going to read shit on the New York Times and they're going to get depressed about that. You know, depression is a problem right now that has some attention, but there's no linking depression and diet at this point. And from my own personal experience, since I've gotten rid of sugar and alcohol from my diet, my depression potency level is way more tolerable. I get a little down still, but I don't get the soul-crushing depression. So let's not forget that in addition to obesity and metabolic diseases, that depression is a fucking symptom as well, and anxiety and stress, you know, and we often turn to sugar and foods to comfort those, and in the meantime, we just make it worse while we do that shit. So, now that we've finished that part, and I've gone over everything I want to go over, it's time for the Q&A, and we're going to try and do a good job of keeping up. Allow me to stall for time while I set up the chat window so that we can see everything and shit. And this isn't going well. Why? Fuck. What? God. Stop! Alright. This is what happens when you're live. Before I do that, it's plug time. ScottTheTruckDriver.com. This is my website. For those of you who are not familiar, many of you are. Everything I do comes through this website at some point, particularly the daily blog, where I document Monday through Friday. Fuck. Alright, is this thing on? Alright. Sorry about that. My camera apparently shut off. I'm having technical difficulties and shit. Hopefully it doesn't shut off again. Oh, son of a bitch. That sucked. Streaming is still going. Anyways, I don't know what the hell happened there. Technical fucking difficulties and shit. This fucking just came crashing to a halt on me. Alright, sorry about that. I don't know if the camera overheated. Maybe I have to go back to my old camera when I do this. Alright. That sucked. You can see the kind of week I'm fucking having. Alright. Anyways, what I was saying before I lost the feed. So, recommended products, I'm going to be adding to this periodically. If you buy anything through these links through Amazon, it helps support the channel. So if you're going to buy something through Amazon, by all means, click one of these links and then go to whatever you're going to buy, and you can probably help out the channel a little bit that way. So that's all I want to go over with the website right now. So now let's get the fucking chat working properly. This fucking thing. What the hell? I got two chat windows open? Close that. Don't want to do that. Close that. And bring this chat window here. And increase the motherfucking size. There we go. So now I can keep up with your guys' questions. So now's the time. Sorry about the technical fucking difficulties. Is the sound back on? Camera cut out? Okay, that must have been from before. All right, somebody please let me know if everything's back on. It looks like it's working. Let me check the stream and be sure. The technical fucking... Okay, it's working. All right. So, sorry about that. I have no idea why the fuck that cut off. I'm going to have to keep a close eye on it for the rest of the podcast. Anyways, let's go back through and see if there's any comments. Let's see. Oh, shit. We got a super chat. Robert Brown. Way to bring it, Scott. And thank you for your contribution to the channel. I definitely appreciate it. It's kind of been a rough month, so you're definitely... I definitely appreciate your help there. So, let's see. I'm looking for something to talk about here. Let's see. Snow. Okay, people are just talking there. Get back in the beer, homebrew. Alright. I'm just gonna go back to real time here. Cheryl Stark lived on a 32-foot sailboat for the last 12 years. Now bought an RV, going on some adventures myself. See, I can't afford an RV, nor I don't think I would choose an RV as the way to go either. Because it's the maintenance costs would be kind of too high. It's like you're talking six figures just to own one. To me, the Prius will get the job done. You see, when you car camp, part of being a minimalist in a vehicle, you're not staying in that car all the time. You're forced to go out into the world and experience it. You know, if you want to take a shower, you got to go somewhere and pull in and take a shower. If you want to use the bathroom, you got to find a place to use the bathroom. You're not going to do all of that in that car. There are some that do, not me. I've lived on as a tractor trailer driver, I lived on a truck for a great many years. And I didn't do, unless it was a dire emergency, I didn't do any of that shit in the truck. I went somewhere where those services were available. I got them and I left. I didn't stay in a hotel. Truck stops have showers. Gyms have showers. There's bathrooms everywhere. There's Wi-Fi hotspots. There's places you can just sit and enjoy. Which reminds me, I recently, one of the dates that I went out on was what I would call a minimalist date. We literally sat in these comfortable chairs and drank coffee at the mall and talked. And really, I think we had a very, high quality experience because we weren't trying to like go to the movies and spend money or go to the bar where it's loud and shit. We just were enjoying each other's company. And that doesn't cost anything. And a lot of the functions that we do for comfort are available in the public. You want a nice quiet place to sit? There's comfortable quiet places to sit. There's libraries. There's, public spaces that are designed for people to use them. Or you can go to a coffee shop and be one of those motherfuckers that's sitting in there with your coffee and you got your laptop and you got your headphones and you're just doing your thing. These are things when you car camp that you have to be able to do. You're not going to boondock very long in a car unless you bring a tent and something to do all of these other functions with. But you can travel the country, anywhere you can drive, minimally, only worrying about fuel and maintenance of your vehicle. And, when it comes to food, you find it along the way. You can pull into a Walmart, a grocery store, and whatnot, and get healthy food. or you can take your chance with the fast food, processed food shit, which I don't recommend. But I don't know. I don't think I'll ever go the RV route. Susan Dale, Scott, from your latest experience of refeeding, would you do as long of a refeed next time? And that is a very good question and very pertinent to what's been going on my post-fast results. As many of you who are following, and I just opened something so that it's getting cold in here, so patience for a second. All right. I was worried about the camera overheating or something, which it shouldn't do. It's not recording. It's just streaming. So as many of you know, one of the things I wanted to test with this latest hybrid fast, which ended with a water fast, only, I think, a little over 72 hours of water fasting. I chose to do a full, pretty much 16-8 protocol as a means of, refeeding with just strict ketogenic diet, and even pushing myself to overeat, because I wanted the metabolism to rebound. I wanted to know how long that take. Would I regain all the weight that I lost? So this is experimental and intentional. I could have easily just came out of the fast, went to ADF, and probably kept a few pounds off. But I wanted to know, could I ramp the metabolism up? How long would it take before it leveled out? And it is leveling out. I do notice that the appetite has dropped. I get full a lot faster now. It is now uncomfortable to overeat. It wasn't. For the first 3 or 4 days after the fast, I could overeat. My body wasn't fighting it. But I'm noticing some pushback. And when you start noticing that pushback, you're reaching the other end of the spectrum in terms of your body's metabolism telling you, okay, you're good. Stop. We got enough. And I wanted to see where that threshold was. I did regain the physical weight of the fast. However, I do feel there was some shifts in body composition. As I, was at 35.25 inches this morning. Yesterday it did pop up to 35.5, and then the day before that was just 35, but it's gone down again. So I'm feel like I might have bought myself a half an inch away of like progress around the belly area. Which, regardless of the scale, to me is awesome, because that's the target. I don't have a lot of body fat anywhere else. My arms pretty thin. You can see veins and shit. I'm not buff, so be gentle. But, I don't have body fat in my extremities. It's probably why I get cramps in my lower extremities, because there's little to no fat in my legs and my feet and in those areas. But I do have some fat around the belly still, because that's the last area I've been working on, but I am making slow progress in that area. So overall, would I do as long of a refeed again? I think it is important to rebuild after a fast. The more and more I experiment with the longer fasts, as I go longer and longer and deeper into longer fasts, there's two things I'm learning. First of all, the metabolism's gonna drop on a water fast. That is indisputable, at this point. Every time I've done a water fast greater than 72 hours, I've noticed a huge drop in metabolism, an increase in appetite, once the refeed is going, a decrease in how quickly I get full when I do eat. These are all symptoms of a dropped metabolism, including the cold spells, and, even though it's fucking boiling hot in an area and you're still somehow cold while everyone else around you is fine. It's a good way to gauge that. The no energy, to no will to go out and do shit. These are all issues that you can use to gauge where your metabolism is at. Now, since I did this refeed, I've ramped it back up. I feel like I'm pretty much recovered at this point, and that my body weight over the next week or so is going to normalize. It's going to come back to the 180s. And I didn't move the needle. I don't believe that this fast did a whole lot in terms of set point modification. You know, the goal for me is to try and lower the set point, but I'm fighting a very strong metabolic system that does not want that set point to go down. And it's, you know, when you get closer and closer to wanting your set point to be in what the world determines is the healthy range, you know, after fucking your body up for most of your life, like I did, eating the processed food sugar diet with very little vegetable content in it, you know, it essentially, I've fucked myself, you know, in a lot of ways. So I can't realistically expect that it's going to be a real quick, I'm going to get to that, you know, set point that I had in my fucking teens and, you know, early 20s. Really, the last time I saw 175, I was 17 years old. I was 17 when the last time I saw 175. I am getting pretty fucking close to that. I got down to 182 during this fast, which is the lowest weight I've been. I've dipped my toe into 34 inches around the belly, so I think if I keep chugging away at these long fasts to target that belly fat and then put the weight back on, doesn't necessarily, from what the measurements, isn't going right back to belly fat, you know. So the weight I'm putting on is going to other areas of the body. I'm probably storing it a hell of a lot more healthily than it was stored before the fast. So I would still do long fasts. I'm going to be doing more leaning towards the fat fast side of the house because I notice how much easier it is, and I notice less metabolic drop, less hunger, less overeating afterwards. My last couple long fat fasts, the 6-day fat fast, I didn't nearly get as hungry or as, you know, I wasn't even able to overeat the way I did after this fast. But now I think things are leveling out. So it takes about a week after a 7-day fast. As you know, I did commit to a 2-week refeed, but I'm wavering on that. I haven't decided yet. I'm leaning towards going back to ADF starting Monday. Sherry Ambrose, thank you for your contribution to this channel. Good afternoon, Scott. Keep up the good work. And I will keep up this good work, you know. And I'll keep trying to expand in my knowledge and understanding of shit. You know, as many of you know, I posted a video earlier today about the cholesterol thing. Another thing I have coming up at the end of the month that I will produce a video and a blog entry on. Getting my blood work done, and I'm really curious as to what the results are. I'm predicting my LDL is going to be high, and that, you know, my triglycerides will be good and my HDL will be up. So to me, those are good numbers. To the doctor, they might not be. So thank you. Alrighty. So let me scroll back a little and see what I missed. Spive21, I used my Prius for a taxi for 7 years and only fucked it up when I left it idle. Well, I do leave my Prius idling a lot when I'm running Uber. And, but it has saved me a fortune. Like, it tells me how much I spend in gas. And I can work a 3-hour shift and spend maybe $1.50 in gas. And that's pretty fucking spectacular to me. That Prius is a good investment for if you're doing any kind of Uber. It doesn't seem to have any problems when I'm idling it. I don't know what year your Prius was. Mine's a 2015, so I don't know if I'm going to run into those issues, at least not, you know, for a long time. If I got 7 years out of it, it'll pay for itself 10 times over if I get that length of time before I have to invest a significant amount in repairs. But it is hard on the car because of all the road hazards and people leaving shit in the street and fucking potholes, and it's a nightmare. And it could, I could lose profit there, but so far for Uber, the Prius has been the best, car that I could think of to do that particular job with. And then add in the money it's going to save me when I start traveling with it. It's that car is going to pay for itself, You know, so it was worth it for me so far. I'll let you know if that changes, though. Cheryl Stark, hoping to boondock a bit when traveling to save money. I'm going to be doing a lot of urban stealth camping, I think. So I'm not too worried. I do like going out into the boonies, and probably can, because A, I can fast, so I could just load up some water and go out into the woods, or maybe even some water and some fat, and go out into the woods and fast my way through the experience. You know, bring some pecans and shit and some, you know, keep it going. But so I don't know. That's going to be part of the experiment. That's going to be part of the experience that'll be added to the channel this year, is getting out there and seeing what I come up with idea-wise to keep costs down, to have a fulfilling experience, to see out-of-the-way places, to see things that interest me, to take pictures. You know, I am a photographer, so I like doing all of that, and I'm really looking forward to it. Like, this weather here has been fucking so cold and miserable, and I don't even like going out in the winter, and I feel cooped up, and it's probably part of the reason why I feel a little bit, you know, overwhelmed right now, is because I'm not out there. And I want to get out there, and I want to shoot, you know, video for the channel, for my own personal projects. I want to shoot pictures. I want to do time lapses. There's all kinds of shit I want to do that I currently can't fucking do. Dave and MSP, the baller has returned. Thank you once again for your contribution. Dave and MSP is a huge contributor to this channel, so everybody who enjoys the videos should thank him, because he is helping keep this going. He's a very, very generous contributor to the channel. I am managing my time poorly at work. Have a good stream. That's pretty much what work is, you know, poor time management as far as working in the corporate world, especially if you're not feeling fulfilled with your time off from work. If you're working all the time and you're miserable and you're stressed, and then you go home, and a lot of people I see in this corporate cycle where they bust their ass, they make shit tons of money, ass loads of money, enough money to make everybody jealous. But then they go home and they watch TV for an hour, and then they go to sleep, and then they get up and they do it all over again. You know, unless the job itself is fulfilling, unless you're enjoying the time you arrive at work to the time that you go home from work, I would think that that's not the, you know, the best way. Now, some people are locked in. They got debt. They got responsibilities. They got family they're supporting. They have all of these, you know, things holding them into that corporate world. But I believe if we downsize enough, if we start making more intentional purchasing decisions, more intentional decisions with how we spend our time and our energy, that we can, at the very least, move the needle. You might not get all the way there because you got things holding you back, like debt, or, you know, a whole lot of financial responsibilities. But as you whittle away at those financial responsibilities, you get the debt paid off. You know, you get people to, you know, that are dependent on you to also contribute. You get all of these, you know, different things, and you start to mitigate the amount of stress and misery that can be involved if you're not happy, you're working an unfulfilling but well-paying job, and you want more pleasure and more, you know, time in life. I'm failing at this, mind you. You know, I left trucking. I do love my job. I do love my work. So it's kind of that I'm getting that right, but I'm not spending a lot of leisure time. You know, I've gone out on some dates. I feel like I've neglected my friendship a little bit. So I need to kind of balance a little bit better. And it's a work in progress. It's not a, I'm going to get it right, you know, every time. You're always got to experiment. You always got to figure out, you know, what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and evaluate each thing you do, and think about it. You know, did that do it for me? Was that worth the time it took me to either make the money to do what I just did, or the time that you spent actually doing it? And another good book, which I just happen to have here, that Deborah Waltenberg sent me, is Your Money or Your Life. This has been revised, but this was written a while ago. And I thought there were a lot of good points and tips in here about ways you can, become financially independent and be a little more intentional. It's not necessarily a minimalism book. It's more of a personal finance book. But there's a lot of information out there with people who have gone minimalist. And even if you're a maximalist, even if you're a baller, you can benefit from that. And I knew that when I went minimalist in the truck, where I was living in the truck and spending less money. I intentionally was not spending as much money, and I started to have a lot of money to do other things. I would still waste it and squander it. I hadn't mastered it yet. I would go out and eat out all the time, which is unhealthy, as we all know. And I would, waste the money. And I was drinking back then too. So I would go out and fucking blow $180, $200 in the bar and not think anything twice about it. Meanwhile, that's a whole day's work. I just spent a whole day in the truck earning the money to go out drinking. Was that fulfilling for me? No. Did it make me happy? No. Was distracting during the time. The 4 or 5 hour drinking period was probably fun for the most part. But the misery afterwards, not so much. And it wasn't fulfilling. And there probably were cheaper ways to spend 5 hours of my time than getting shit-faced and spending money that took a whole day. So basically I wasted a day and 5 hours when I could have been doing something I would have loved a lot more, like going on a hike somewhere, going to an art gallery and taking something like that in, learning something new, experiencing something new that's fulfilling, that's enjoyable. We do spend a lot of time, trying to pump the dopamine up. Sorry about that. Apparently there is a timeout feature. Everything's working again. Anyways, what I was saying before my camera so rudely fucked me, it's clearly it's a timer. Like if I'm not recording, it turns off after a while. So I will address that in future podcasts. But here we go. Anyways, I completely got distracted by that. But thanks, Dave and MSP. You sent me off on that nice little tangent. Scott, SDM 807 writes, Scott, all symptoms can be traced to a mineral deficiency. Dr. Linus Pauling, I've started being regular and with sea kelp for minerals. It's better than sea salt. Helps with my mood. I am not a huge believer in getting that deep into the micronutrition, into the minerals and all of that. I do believe, there's diminishing returns when we start worrying about every little thing and we try to eat exotic things that we probably, if we were dropped in nature, wouldn't consider eating unless there was nothing else available. I know if I have some cramps, I add some salt. I know I take my magnesium baths to absorb enough magnesium through my skin to make up for the lack of it in a lot of the greens that we buy in the Whole Foods section of the store because they're grown in mineral replete soil. I know I'm not getting the All right, that sucks. I just opened the door back up so that it gets nice and freezing in here, and hopefully that'll keep the camera running longer. This is depressing me that this fucking camera's messing up. Good thing I didn't sell the other camera because I was planning on it, part of my minimalism and shit. But in the future, I will lower the video quality a little bit and use the camera that I won't shut off. Thank you, Sony, with the A6300. This is what I was filming this with, for shutting off. I could try the Nikon next time. I'll try the Nikon and see how that works out. But as for right now, we're going to fight with this camera through the rest of the live stream. But anyways, what I was saying is, I don't go that deeply into the micronutrition and minerals unless I'm experiencing some kind of symptoms or deficiency, which is another thing we're going to find out when I get my blood work done. We're going to see, we're going to get through my deficiencies. I'm going to know if I'm deficient in something from the blood work. And that should be the point. It says no sound. What's going on here? Somebody wrote no sound. Scott, that camera is shit. Yeah, it's not the greatest for doing this particular function. So, but hopefully everybody's back on board. So it's also getting cold in here again. So hopefully if it's turning off for a heat issue, then it should be fine for now, because I know I'm feeling the cold right now. Anyways, as I was saying, if I find deficiencies in my blood work, then I'll consider doing weird things with my diet for, as far as deficiencies go. If I don't, I'm probably vitamin D deficient because I don't get out of this fucking room enough. But that'll be remedied naturally coming soon. But I think a lot of people are like that anyway. So going back up. And once again, I apologize for the technical fucking difficulties brought upon by my Sony camera. I'll switch to my other Sony camera, which somehow manages to not overheat and shut off. Good thing I didn't get rid of that, because I didn't know that this was going to happen. I thought I've done a 2-hour stream with this camera before without an issue, so I'm not sure what the fucking problem is. So, Andrew Andres, I can't pronounce it. Hey Scott, in all the videos I have ever watched in your channel, you never talked about the Krebs cycle and how it goes against in a minute of fasting. Probably because that is more related to exercise and muscle and all of that, and I never really got to study much about the Krebs cycle yet, but now I'll add that to my list. I generally only talk about shit I come across, so I'm not formally educated on the Krebs cycle, so I'll work on that. If you have any links, post them into the comments to this video, not in the chat, because I won't be able to get to them from there. Yeah. Let's see here. What else we got? Effing camera. Yep, tell me about it. Alrighty. What symptoms are you having? Is J.O.D. having symptoms? There we go. Let's go up here. My question for Dr. Berg. What was J.O.D.'s question? I'm looking for it. I asked a question about the pancreas. I did not frame the question right. And let's see, after Dr. Berg, Epsom salt soaked for cramps. I don't see your question, J.O.D. So if you could repost it. For some reason, I'm not seeing J.O.D.'s question. Something about the pancreas simply has too much fat, so it stops working. The pancreas can become fatty, much like the liver can become fatty, increasing the difficulty of even getting insulin out of it. That's part of the problem that you can have that can cause beta cells to fail and not produce enough insulin to get your blood sugar, which, is usually fucked up. It's not enough to get your symptoms down at that point. So as you burn the fat away from the pancreas, you do help that along. As far as, the beta cell failure, as in you can't produce enough insulin anymore, that's part of the damage that can happen from becoming diabetic. I'm not even sure that keto would reverse that in the long term. I don't know if that's what your question was. Let me scroll down, see if you got it. It was about the pancreas and what causes type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, the pancreas is, the problem that you get to where you're not able to produce enough insulin to keep your blood sugar down. That is not a cause of diabetes. Insulin resistance is the root cause of diabetes. And it starts with the liver, and as you continue to create more and more fat while not burning it, it clogs up everywhere. It clogs up your liver. You get fatty liver. It clogs up the pancreas. And, much like you can get cirrhosis of the liver from a fatty liver, you can fuck up your pancreas with, the fatty deposits that end up there. It causes insulin resistance in your muscles. And, you get fatty deposits on your muscles that keep the glucose from getting to where it needs to go. And as this happens, you start to have the energy, the blood sugar, pile up in your blood. And that's when the doctor says, hey, look at your A1C, you're fucked. And, and then gradually, in the standards of care, it becomes a treatment of, oh, the blood sugar, we got to control the blood sugar. We're going to give her drugs to control the blood sugar. Oh, she's not producing enough insulin. Here's some fucking insulin. Yep, okay, blood sugar dropped. Yay, mission accomplished. Without addressing the insulin resistance. To try and reverse, if you're already diabetic, you're already fucked. You're going to have to be, especially if your pancreas is fucked. If your pancreas got damaged and you can't produce enough insulin to deal with a higher carb diet, you pretty much have to be either on some kind of drug, which has been proven to not keep you permanently okay, that just prolongs your death, or permanently keto, and you'll go into remission because your insulin won't be very high very often. And yes, your blood sugar may climb to the 100, 130 range sometimes while you're keto, but that's a hell of a lot better than the 300, 400 range it's going to do if you're eating the standard American diet. So yes, there are certain aspects of type 2 diabetes that will not be reversed by a ketogenic diet and fasting, because once you start doing damage to the pancreas to where you're not producing enough insulin to do the fucking job, then your only solution is to keep your blood sugar lower or your insulin down. And the only way you can do that is through eating a ketogenic diet, a strict ketogenic diet. We're talking 20 grams or less. So that's kind of, as far as the pancreas is concerned, it's different. If that's your issue, if you've, tanked your pancreas, you can't produce insulin, I don't know that you can, just use keto as treatment and then go back to another diet. You have to stay keto. And then you probably won't have an issue. It'll be like remission. It's not a cure necessarily. If you go back to eating fucked up shit, you're going to not be able to produce enough insulin to lower your blood sugar. That, I have seen no proof that gets reversed. In fact, when my ex-girlfriend ran into this, whenever she ate, her blood sugar would just skyrocket if she had a cheat meal, so to speak. Even though she was consistently getting her blood sugar into the 90s and 100s while she was full keto with no cheating, whenever we had our cheat day or our carb up or, our carb night, it would just spiral out of control because she couldn't produce enough insulin to lower the blood sugar, to put the energy where it belongs, and it piles up in the blood. You don't want energy piling up in your blood. You don't want high triglycerides, which is what happens when fat piles up in your blood, and you don't want high blood sugar. And if those two things are happening, those are symptoms, not causes, and we need to figure out what caused it. In this case, diet is the cause. So diet should be the cure, not pills. So, Jyoti Peeth, if beta cells are not working anymore, damaged beyond repair, I don't have hope. I would not say that. Like I said, if you stick to the diet, I don't know if you're hoping to do the diet and come off of it. You might have enough working beta cells to live that way just fine without issue. Without any further damage, without having to worry about getting limbs cut off and all of that stuff that can happen if you allow the disease to progress. But you can stop it. You can reverse a lot of it. You can get rid of all of the fat on the pancreas. You can get rid of all the fat in your liver. Don't give up hope. You have already probably come a long way if you've done the ketogenic diet, if you've fat adapted, if you're doing fasting, which will erode that fat in your liver and in your pancreas, because once you remove all this fat and you go into fat burning mode, guess where you got to get your fat from? So don't give up. Don't, by no means should you do that. And who knows? A long fast might help regenerate some of those cells. I don't know. There's not a lot of science in that particular area of fasting. Maybe Dr. Fung needs to get on the fucking ball and make a study like that happen, seeing if you can reverse damage to the pancreas done during type 2 diabetes. And if somebody knows of a study, please send it to me. I would love to read about that. If there's a way to reverse damage that was done, because a lot of people don't get on board with this until they've already fucked themselves up quite a bit. And Spive just wrote Jyoti, totally reversible, reversed mine, just stick to keto and IF. And that would be my advice as well. Even if it doesn't make it so that you can go back to eating a lot of carbs, you can have a good, high quality of life without spending tons of money on drugs, without spending tons of money in the hospital, if you just stick with the diet and do that the rest of your life, and throw in some fasts, throw in some long fasts to try and heal whatever damage was caused while you were deeply diabetic, while your blood sugar was in the 200s or 300s. You want to undo some of that damage. The best way to do that is to go into autophagy, break down the fucked up cells, and then rebuild them afterwards. And that's the feast part comes into play there. So don't give up on the dead beta cells issue. You might be able to regenerate some of that. The research isn't quite there yet for that, though. Oh, let's see. How are we doing on time here? Okay, we still got about an hour left, so keep the questions coming and shit, and we'll keep this shit going. Jyoti, I'm focused on Jyoti right here because she sounds like she needs help. I assume you're a she. I am fasting. My fasting sugar is now in the 90s. It was in the 120s. And yes, and length of time that you spend fasting, that you spend fat adapted, that you don't go back to the well of carbs, that you don't touch sugar. If it has fructose in it, fuck it. You don't want it. Get over that sugar addiction. Don't go back to the breads and refined carbs, because that is not good for a diabetic, period. Your carbs should be strictly from vegetables. That's it. No fruit either. I'd keep the fruit down. A lot of people are going to get pissed that I said that. But if you're diabetic and your blood sugar used to be in the 300s and you had to be controlled by medication, you need treatment. And you need to be very strict with the ketogenic diet at that point. I can get away with 50 grams. I was pre-diabetic. That's gone. I got to it before it started the damage. My blood sugar I don't even think my blood sugar's been above 140 ever in my life. It was getting questionable. It was touching it down in that 130, 140 range when they wanted to send me to get blood tests to make sure I wasn't diabetic for my DOT physical. Because I was pissing sugar. And that's a sign and a symptom of it as well. And I was drinking Mountain Dew and all kinds of shit. But I got to it before it became a big problem. But a lot of people, they already go way past the line of damage. And they need to undo it. And in order to undo it, you have to go to the extreme side of the ketogenic diet, as in keeping it low. Some people are saying carnivore. I'm not ready to say that yet, but you definitely should keep your grams of carbs as low as possible if you're trying to reverse diabetes. And give it time. Give it a couple of years. Rome wasn't built in a day. You should give your body time to undo the damage. Sprinkle in some longer fasts. I believe in that too. Make sure you're good though. Make sure you're off all of those medications when you do that too. You don't want to be on something to control blood sugar when you decide to fast, because your blood sugar is going to get fucked with by the drug. And the whole object of fasting is to replace the requirement for blood sugar with ketones. And I'm thinking if you're doing any kind of drugs that cause some kind of blood sugar control, that a long fast might be detrimental. So never do a long fast without a doctor monitoring you if you are, a medicated diabetic. You shouldn't do anything if you're under medication without advisement from an informed professional, because I don't know what all those drugs are doing to you, and a fast could make things worse. So be careful when it comes to longer fasts. But intermittent fasting, anything under 72 hours, shouldn't be a problem, because you still have some glycogen to work with if things get out of hand. Alrighty, let's see here. What's going on here? Can't comment. Why is it saying you can't comment? Hi all, can't comment longer than a few words. Hi. Hello, Psychic Outlaw. I'm sorry, I don't know what it's doing. Apparently, YouTube must have made some kind of change to how the live stream works. So, I guess be a little more targeted with your chats. If you don't want to get... I don't know why it's stopping. Is it self-moderating now? I'm not moderating it. I barely get to see what's going on. Barry Fennell, the pancreas not producing insulin is the same as people who take exogenous testosterone shrinks the testicles, and the testicles stop producing testosterone as long as the testosterone is taken. So basically, I guess what you're saying is if someone is taking insulin externally, that the pancreas doesn't do as good of a job, or if... I do believe, it does take a while to fire up if you're constantly fasting and on keto, or on just a low protein version of keto, you're probably not going to be able to keep up insulin wise if you suddenly get a sugar load or a carb load. So there's that. I could see that is a thing, that maybe if you've been controlling, things with medication this whole time, that it could be difficult to come off when it comes to diabetes. So, fucking make sure the camera's still... I'm paranoid now. I keep looking, see if the fucking camera... It shouldn't be cutting off. I think it was a temperature thing, because since I've lowered the temperature by about 25 degrees in this room, camera seems to be going strong. Little Cable Boy, wait, fasting is bad for us now? No, fasting is not bad for you. But I've always said, do so with caution. I don't know everyone's situation. For me, fasting is fine. But it's not, it depends on what you're using it for, too. I wouldn't say fasting is the long fasts are not the best weight loss tool because of the metabolism drop. But as far as healing, fasting is the way to go. I do believe that. And if I had serious illnesses that I thought fasting could help, I would definitely use them. But I always exercise a word of caution, because I don't want to be that guy that tells you, and they're out there, I've seen them on YouTube, that, oh, you can fast this away, fast that away, and you got somebody who's, you know nothing about. You know nothing about their health markers. You know nothing about what medications they're on and the effects of those medications, which could be amplified, exacerbated, or cause complications if you suddenly go to a 10-day fucking fast. I don't feel comfortable, recommending something that without the proper precautions could cause issues. If you are a healthy individual with a shit ton of body fat, fasting is fine. And the more body fat you have, the longer you can fast. Assuming you're not on medication, assuming that you have addressed any issues and you're prepared. You don't just say, I'm going to fast. You do your homework. And you do your personal homework on your body, because your body might not be the same as my body, or the body next to you, or the other guy's body. You can't make decisions based all on that. You have to make informed decisions. And you should be in touch with, you should have a good blood panel done. You should know what you're deficient in so you can address the deficiencies before you do a long fast. Because you don't want to go and do a long fast without proper stores as far as micronutrition, as far as, you know, your minerals and electrolytes, you want to go into a fast as healthy as possible. For some people, they just dive in, and some of them are successful with that. Some people try and do a fast and fail because they feel completely like shit. And the worse your health situation is going into a fast, the worse you're going to feel into the fast. And a lot of people just give up because of that. They don't get past, you know, I've seen people that can't eat, you know, that can't not eat dinner. You know, meanwhile, I could do that in my sleep. You know, these are things that are weighed to the individual. But fasting I never said fasting is bad for you. I just say be cautious if you've never done it before. I've done plenty of it. I've been doing it for 3 years. I know I can fast. I am confident in it. I don't need to go and get blood panels every time I do it. I don't need a doctor's blessing because I've tested the water and I was able to swim. And that's ultimately how I determine that. But that's not the route for somebody that has gone through a miserable amount of health problems. So let's see here. What else we got? Psychic Outlaw. Carnivore, I think it makes me hungrier in the sense of deliciousness. Or maybe you don't get enough fat. Depends on, you know, if I wouldn't overdo protein. You make sure you get enough fat if you're doing carnivore. Because that's part of the equation. You might, if you're not getting enough energy coming in, as in you're not eating enough fat on a carnivore diet, I would say that would play into a metabolic drop or a lot of hunger and hormonal, you know, telling you to eat more and want to eat more. If you're doing it right, you should get full quick. You should not be hungry every couple hours. You know, you'll know if you're doing it right because your body lets you know. And shit. Sherry Ambrose, yeah, keto won't cure a screwed pancreas, but it'll be in remission on keto. You can't leave keto. Dr. Westman, who works with type 2 diabetes, uses keto on his patients. And yeah, that's a true story. I think the safest bet for a diabetic who progressed, whose blood sugars were getting in the 200 to 300 range, who was on deck for medication or already on medication, that keto is not something that you do temporarily to cure diabetes. It is a lifelong intervention that you have to stick to if you don't ever want diabetes to come back. Now, you can do this and you'll go in and your blood work, your doctor will be like, oh, you're cured. Yay. And then you go and you start eating shit tons of carbs again because you think you're cured. And then it comes ramping back up. And you just kind of, I know it might suck especially if you're carb addicted and sugar addicted, you're going to be like, fuck, I can't have fucking pasta and bread and shit anymore. Son of a bitch. But I contend that being ketogenic and fasting, which I'm doing by choice, I could probably get away with being a carb burner for quite a while before obviously I would regain some weight, but I think I could get pretty far in life if I reintroduced pasta and potatoes but kept the sugar out. But I'm still choosing not to do that. I like being keto. I like fasting. And for me, it is a lifestyle. But I think if you're a diabetic, it kind of has to be a lifestyle, which I guess is the difference. And that sucks, you know, that you kind of get roped in to doing that shit. Oh, let's see here. Technochrono, what's up, Scotty? Live streaming and working and more working. And then I might do more work after this. I don't know yet. I have to wait and see. Psychic Outlaw, have you tried the carnivore diet yet? Nope, I'm planning to for 1 month, probably in a few months away. It's down the road. I will try a month with only meats and fats and animal-based type style diet. Getting rid of nuts, which I'm gonna miss, and probably a lot of dairy I'll get rid of. Not all of it, But for the most part, yeah, I'm going to give the, okay, I'm not eating veg and nuts this month try and see what that leads to. I don't know about where I'm going to fall in the dairy. I don't know if I want to go that far into the carnivore diet. But I'm interested to see what would happen if I did that for a month and how things would change and what would, happen. But I don't think I'd make it a lifestyle. I don't think I could go carnivore all the way because there's a lot of good foods I eat on keto that would not fall in the realm of the carnivore diet. And I would miss those. And to me, I've already given up a lot of pleasurable drug-like foods. I still want to have a little bit of rewarding foods in my diet. And for me, like pecans fit that bill. Full-fat Greek yogurt fits that bill. The occasional keto baked good fits that bill. Artificial sweetener in my coffee occasionally, though I've cut back by about half the amount of artificial sweetener I use. Occasional Halo Top, a couple spoonfuls now I do instead of, a full serving or whatever. But these are little desserts, and they're very moderate and not a huge part of my diet. But if I was carnivore, I wouldn't do any of that. Now, someone would be like, you wouldn't be addicted to that shit anyway, so who gives a shit? But I like them. And I don't know that I want to give them up the rest of my life. So I don't think I would ever be full-on carnivore, even if they decided it was the best way to go, which I don't think we're anywhere near that. It's still kind of a fringe diet. It's not, we can't even get keto to be fucking accepted, and now you want carnivore to be accepted. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon unless something significant on the scientific research. And I don't know that they'll even research it because they might still be viewed as unethical to not eat vegetables. But it is intriguing, some of the anecdotal evidence that's been coming out on the carnivore diet and some of the, stuff from the, 20s. I forget the name of the doctor, Weston Price. I don't know. So there's another doctor or a dentist that went out and studied some, carnivore pretty much tribes and saw the health benefits there and then did a year himself. I forget the name of him. But there's a lot of studies that need to be done, I think, to at least provide the option of people to go carnivore. So Deborah Mazines, why do some YouTubers say black coffee and herbal teas are fine while fasting and others are against it? Because some people are optimal health motherfuckers that are constantly worried about every little microbiological fucking thing that could affect your gut health, that are worried that there might be mold in your coffee and so on and so forth. And there comes a point where if you're chasing optimal health that you stress yourself out. Actually, I just noticed Technochrono. I don't know how that slipped past me. Cheers, Scotty. Have a bite of Kerry Gold's butter on me. Thanks for your contribution, Technochrono. I appreciate that. Anyways, what I was saying, there comes a point, there are YouTubers out there, like Dr. Mercola, for example, I believe falls in this category, to where he's concerned about every little minute fucking aspect of optimal health. And there comes a point, it's called orthorexia, you can look that term up, where you are fear of not eating healthy, and it can drive you to eliminate huge swaths of food from your diet, leaving you with very, very basic level of diet, in which case I think your physical health would give you a diminishing return, but your mental health would take a huge dip if you weren't allowed to eat some of the foods you really like because they have some microtoxin in them or some other fucking thing. Caffeine is not a requirement. It is, a drug. It is probably the last drug I'm addicted to. Coffee, I love my coffee. It's an integral part of my life. I don't think I could do a fat fast if I was not allowed to have coffee with heavy whipping cream in it. Coffee has gotten me through so much on this journey. It's done a lot for me. I have experienced no adverse health effects from coffee. You take the sugar out of the coffee's fine. And any further delving into, different beans causing different problems, or most recently we had that coffee cancer controversy. There's not enough scientific data. We've been drinking coffee a long time, and it's the sugar and shit that we put in the coffee that's been worse for us than the actual coffee itself and tea. And if you start getting that deep into the minutia of what's bad for you, and you can go down this rabbit hole, you can get sucked into this. I've been sucked in a few times, and then I take a step back and I'm like, wait a fucking minute. Look what I've done. Look how far I've come. Do I really need to go that extra inch? Because you're not going an extra mile. You're going an extra inch when you start getting, when you get away from the macro level and you start going into the micronutrition. That is a huge rabbit hole. Because every food has a problem with it. Every fucking thing you buy, salads, fucking fruits have been fucking modified some way to be sweeter. They've been crossbred and all of that shit. They're grown in nutrient deficient soil, so those are bad for you. Basically, if you don't have your own fucking farm and a very nutrient rich fucking soil in the backyard along with some of your own fucking livestock, you're getting unhealthy shit in some way. And you can't live your life and eliminate all of that. You can't. You have to work in the environment we're in. If you're in a survival situation, someone drops you in the fucking woods, you're not going to get to say that you can't eat that plant because it's got some little fucking thing that's going to make you feel like shit for 3 days. No, you got to eat that so you don't fucking starve to death. And if we get too deep into this micronutrition fucking rabbit hole, we end up eliminating. I know somebody who did this, by the way. I'm not going to go into details, but I know that, you look in their fridge and it was like stacks of butter and stacks of eggs and, hardly any variety at all. And just, eating things based on this effect and probiotic effect or this, antibiotic effect. And, and you start getting into all of that minutia and you get lost in it. And the next thing you know, coming up with something to eat or finding a meal becomes a stress-inducing event, You start stressing about what the fuck you're going to eat because you can't find anything that doesn't have some kind of fucked up health properties. And everything you see in the grocery store, whether it's meat, whether it's fucking produce, whether it's nuts, whether it's in a box, whether it's in a fucking jug, whether it's in the health food section, every fucking thing has some negative micronutritional aspect to it. And if you live your life according to that, you won't fucking eat. So, sorry, got triggered. Yes, triggered on a live stream. All right. Let's see here. Psychic Outlaw. Mercola tells a lot of lies, like on distilled water, and which has made a huge difference for me. I don't believe in distilled water either, but only because I need to get, electrolytes however I can, because I have that cramp issue. So I like some spring water, but hey, you know what? This isn't healthy. There's got like shit in the plastic. Mercola would take a big dump on this. He'd throw this at me and say, you can't drink that. It's fucking unhealthy. Meanwhile, I have no issues drinking this. No problems at all. There, I just made Mercola get pissed off. That's probably acidic. That's another thing I hear. That water is acidic. It's causing problems. Look, we don't get to be that picky. We don't have the luxury of having 100% blessed healthy foods or immaculate amounts of budget to go buy tons of supplementation. I'm anti-supplement. I don't believe in that. I believe in making the best of what's available in my food environment. And the food environment's shit. Even if you're being healthy, it's shit. But it's better to get 75% of the way there. That's where I want. That's my goal. 75% of the way to healthy. If there's going to be a little unhealthy here and there. But if you look at how far I've come and from where I came, if I stopped right now and didn't worry about any of this extra shit, I probably would live a longer health span than I previously would have before. A much needed return on investment. I totally have saved myself hundreds of thousands of dollars in old age just by doing what I've done so far and not worrying about these minutia, these little neurotic diet things that you can worry about. Don't get caught up in that shit. Fix it on the macro level. Then if you want to go full blown and you want to make a hobby of it and that's somehow fulfilling for you, I can understand that. But if it's causing you stress, anxiety, worry, then you're getting a diminishing return when you start worrying about all the micronutrition shit. So, yeah. Don't worry about the micro. Stick with the macro. Stick with whole foods. Get out of the processed foods. If you don't know what the ingredients are, there's probably bad shit in it for you. Stay away from the vegetable oils. You know, these are all big, huge things that will have huge impact on your life. Instead of worrying about whether there was a little bit of mold on one coffee bean, or whether or not your water is acidic, or whether it has some kind of mineral deficiency in it, or whether your vegetables, there's going to be foods out there with bad shit in them, and nearly every food I can go into the supermarket and grab any food and then go out on the internet and find something wrong with it. Guaranteed. There's not a safe food anywhere in that store that I can't find something where it's deficient in something, where it has some kind of microtoxin, where it has some kind of fucking bacteria, where it has some kind of fucking fat, where it has some kind of chemical, whether or not they shot it up with antibiotics, whether or not it was grown in nutrient-replete soil. There's everything you find in the store. There's something wrong with it. I could go out and fucking find it. In fact, I challenge you to present to me a product that can be bought in a normal local grocery store that does not have some kind of issue. In fact, a lot of products that claim to be issue-free, like Bulletproof Coffee, for example, supposedly the healthiest fucking coffee in the world that you should only buy from him, I guarantee you, if you went and had that shit looked at, somebody could find something wrong with it. But does those little small wrong things make a fucking difference in the big picture? I don't think so. Alrighty. Let's get all caught up here. Let's see here. Rachel Pincus, Dr. Berg and Dr. McCullough take it too far. Yes, I do believe Dr. Berg also is leaning into that optimal health side of the house, but I don't know. He does have a lot of good knowledge in some of the things he presents, but yes, he's a supplement guy. I just can't get on board with the spending shit tons of money on something. We didn't have to do that, and we shouldn't have to do that. Our food should provide everything we need. And if it isn't, then it's something we need to address in the food industry. It's not something that we should go to GNC and pull more money out of our pockets to address, Oh, let's see. But Psychic Outlaw, but since we are fasters and on keto for life, why not go for optimal health if one can afford it? Because it's not about financial. It's about diminishing returns. It's about quality of life. You're not going to get a significant boost in quality of life by taking it to the optimal health level. You're not going to feel that much greater than you already can by just switching to whole foods and being keto and fasting. You're not going to push to some bliss point that is further beyond that, But if you get enjoyment out of it, I'm talking about people that stress about it, and they're easy to spot, and they also people who get into this, they browbeat the shit out of you for just about everything you eat. If you eat even one thing that's fucked up in their presence, they're gonna say something and be like, "Oh, that's fucked up. It's got this antibiotic in it that kills this so much gut bacteria that'll cause you to not be able to absorb that, and it'll cause this fucking mineral to become deficient, and this vitamin it's gonna go up." Fuck it drives me nuts. I don't like doing that. It's just not my thing. To each their own. If that's your thing, that's fine. It's just I don't want to live my life that way. to being scared of every little thing that's bad. We got bigger fish to fry in our diet. Sugar is on a macro level bad. Refined carbs, macro level bad. A lot of processed meats, macro level bad. Just because of the large scale negative effects that those issues cause. Getting into the micro section, the part that isn't going to move the needle much in health span, that isn't going to give you a significantly longer, happier life, might boost a little energy here and there, but you're still going to have the peaks and valleys. And at the same time, you're expending enormous amounts of energy to eat the right foods at that point. You're expending enormous amounts of willpower to not eat foods that you may otherwise enjoy because they have one little fucking thing wrong with them. And we can't live our life that way. I don't want to live my life that way. And you got to also keep in mind, the body has the ability to deal with a certain level of toxins and bad shit. When you're out in nature, there is a whole lot of shit that can kill you. There's all kinds of bacteria and viruses and fucking plants that'll inject you with fucked up shit, and you get fucking wasting diseases, or you drink water and you almost die of dysentery, or some animal shits all over something you eat, or you kill and eat a sick animal. And there's all these things in nature that I'd say we're way better off in terms of that aspect of it than if you're out in the woods and you got to do it all from scratch. That should be kept in mind. Our bodies are able to put up with a lot of shit. So when we're starting to deal with little itty bitty things like that, you got to keep in mind your body's dealing with it, and it's the big things, the things that are affecting huge swaths of the population right now that we need to address. And that we should stop it there, or at least, have a mild interest past that certain point. Let's see here. Oh. What else we got here? Minimal weekend. I'm having a minimal weekend. Xbox, Forza 7. Some could argue that playing video games does save money. I can see that. Like, you spend $50 on a video game and you pour 150 hours into it, then you got 150 hours of entertainment, assuming that there was nothing more fulfilling that you could have been doing with that 150 hours that would have brought you more fulfillment and pleasure than that video game spiking your dopamine will. See, it's a little double-edged sword, because I like to play video games. I was addicted for a long time. I'm not as addicted now. I occasionally pick up a game. Last game I picked up was just Fallout 4, just playing around for a few hours. But I'm nowhere near where I used to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours playing video games, because I would completely miss out on life. But if you're looking to save money and you're entertained and that's how you like to spend your time, there's no better place to spend your time at this point, then I guess that would be a good way to spend your time and shit. Alrighty, we still got about 20 minutes left on this podcast. I hope everyone's enjoying it. I'm sorry that I had so many technical difficulties. Seems letting some cold air into the room has solved the problem, so in the future I will address that. But yeah, I just want to stress that again about the video game thing. You should look at everything through that lens. Like, what could you be doing besides that? You should have options. You shouldn't be like, I'm going to spend the weekend playing this game because that's going to save me money. You should come up with a list of things that you would like to do, that you would enjoy, and assess the cost of them, assess the fulfillment of them, how much time did you have to work to pay to do that, and see what kind of return you'd get on that time investment, that life energy investment, and then pick the most fulfilling thing and do that. And I think you'll find it won't always be video games. It'll be going out and hanging out with a friend. It'll be doing some activity somewhere, some event that's free that you can just go and be social. We're social creatures. We're supposed to interact with motherfuckers and shit. So we should get out there and do that whenever possible. So, to me, that's the best way to evaluate, whether or not you should spend 100 hours of your life playing a video game. But sometimes all I feel like doing is playing a fucking video game. So I understand that too. Or I just don't have any other options going on, to where I choose between going and do some work or playing a video game. And I've been working a lot, so maybe I need time off. So thankfully I don't make that choice very often. I always choose to do the fucking work instead. Oh, what else we got? I feel like I gotta check and see if I missed any good questions. Psychic Outlaw. Fluoride is so poison. I do agree. However, it's unavoidable. It's in tap water. And tap water is used in a variety of ways. If you eat out, you're getting fluoride. It's in toothpaste, unless you get the unfluoridated. I agree. Fluoride's bad. But what can you do? You not brush your teeth. You're going to not fucking drink fucking water that... unless it's bottled from some virgin spring in the forest somewhere. I mean, it's hard to avoid. That's part of the problem of getting into the micronutrition of things, and when you start worrying about that. Has fluoride really done a massive amount of damage to our society? Not compared to sugar, not compared to vegetable oil. So, let's see here. I didn't see any other questions jumping out at me here, so I'm going to scroll back down. See what else we got. If things die out early, maybe we'll shut it down early. I don't know. Let's see. Stars 521. Scott will give my missus the best 10 seconds of her life after. Alrighty. Thanks for sharing. The best 10 seconds, huh? You're not good for 2 minutes, at least? Just 10 seconds? Alrighty. Well, I think things are winding down. I might have to call it here. I'm not seeing any other questions popping up. I'm looking, though. Most people are tuning out at this point because I'm being boring right now. Let's see. Still water so cheap. So yeah. Oh, Psychic Outlaw. Screw Monsanto. I agree there. Monsanto is a big contributor to our fucked up health. Anyways, I think I want to wrap this up. I think we've covered enough ground during this live stream. Just want to say thank you once again to the people who contributed tonight's super chat. Robert Brown, Sherry Ambrose, David MSP, and Technochrono. All of you have helped me continue to do this as a viable income stream and to keep me from doing other things. I could have just took advantage of it being Friday and worked Uber, but instead I scheduled a live stream because this is way more fulfilling than driving Uber and shit. Although Leisure, before I close out, best intermittent fasting window. The least amount of fasting for the most amount of result. So if you're getting progress on 16 and 8, stick with 16 and 8. That stalls out, do 1 meal a day. That stalls out, do 36 ADF. That stalls out, do 48-hour fast every couple days or so. That stalls out, start thinking about 72-hour fasts or longer fasts. But only if you're stalled out. You don't want to dig too deeply. You're already fighting your metabolism as you lose weight. You don't want to push the needle. You want to save the big guns for the big battles. So the least amount of fasting that is necessary to accomplish the most amount of weight loss, if that is your goal. If you're treating health, that's a whole other aspect. But for weight loss, the minimum amount of fasting for the maximum amount of results. So whatever you're doing, fasting-wise, if it's comfortable, it's working, it's sustainable, and you're happy doing it, then that is the correct amount of fasting. And it's different for everyone. So, Spy, thank you, Scott. Great live stream. I don't know how great it was. Camera was fucking up. You know, I was all over the place because I kept getting distracted by the technical difficulties. You know, I'd say this was meh in terms of fucking live stream. System of a Fox, just rediscovered my love for MCT oil. 8 tablespoons, I say that's tablespoon, really gives a boost to my mental clarity. I've never used MCT oil. Ironically, I haven't found a place for it in my diet. You know, most of my fat comes from heavy cream, and it's mostly saturated fat. I do eat pecans and nuts occasionally too, so there's that. But I don't know. A lot of my fat comes from dairy and, you know, for cheeses and stuff, and from heavy cream and eggs and, you know, fat that's in meat and prime rib. It's really fatty meat. So there's all of that. I keep getting. So you guys are starting to pump the questions out here and there and get my attention so I don't end the fucking podcast or live stream. Oh, speaking of podcasts, I will be trying to record one this weekend. When I get some time. I haven't figured out the topics yet. A lot of them I'm going to address a lot of the messages and emails that I've been getting in that podcast. I'll review a few studies that I've come across the table. And I'll talk about whatever the fuck else comes up in that podcast. And podcast has been a successful endeavor. People are listening to them and downloading them, so I'm appreciative. However, if you have an iPhone, I will have to manually link to you. It seems people with iPhones can't, for some reason, download from my store, so I have to manually send them a link. So don't get upset if you have an iPhone and you buy the podcast and you have difficulty. I will email you as soon as possible with a link to the podcast that you can download and enjoy. For those of you who have contributed through Patreon, I do appreciate that. Even though I took a shit on Patreon, there is a loyal following that is stuck with that. And they're perfectly happy with the subscription model, so I'll continue to leave Patreon up and even give people the opportunity to do that by promoting it. ScottTheTruckDriver.com, the virtual tip jar, that is also a major support source for the channel. I've done the Amazon stream. There's even, I think, a link to the book on minimalism I was reading in the description to this that will take you to Amazon there. That's the one I'm reading now. And if you do that, that helps the channel as well, as they give me a commission if you decide to buy something through Amazon. So, oh, and I got distracted again. T-Man, I've been stalled for months. New set point, sure, but I want to go lower. Stalled even with 4-day fasts. So I'm guessing you're doing... T-Man, you don't have to go back to Patreon. It's there for people that want to contribute in that way. I still prefer ScottTheTruckDriver.com as the primary way people contribute. That way you're not locked into monthly payments. You can do it at your own leisure. You can you can give as much as you're comfortable with. And when, I don't want people to get like misbilled or they forgot that they are subscribed and that kind of stuff. So it's there for people that choose to do it. Most of the people that are on Patreon now know that I'm focused on ScottTheTruckDriver.com. They just want to not have to worry about doing individual donations. They just want to be billed every month. So that's there. You can do whatever method you're most comfortable with to help with the channel. And even if you're not contributing financially, like I said, doing one of these other things like shopping through to the Amazon through that portal, that contributes as well, as I do get a little bit of compensation for that. So anyways, back to your question about being stalled. These stalls happen. I'm not sure how close to your ideal weight you are. The closer you get to your goal, the longer the stalls will be. I had a 1-year plateau, and that was with 1 meal a day, standard American diet, and while throwing in 3 to 5 day fasts. Every time I fasted, my metabolism would drop. I would lose a shit ton of weight, and then in the 2 or 3 days following that, I would regain every last fucking pound. I can't see that if you're on you eat no sugar and 1 meal a day. Are you a carb burner, or do you just eat whole foods? Or are you keto? So you're 25 pounds away. You still should be able to make significant progress. Are you fat adapted? That's the most important question, because fat adaptation alone can knock that down even further when you get the carbs out of your life, and you practice not just being low incident while you're fast, or low insulin while you're fasting. If you can lower insulin while you're eating as well. If you are fat adapted and you're keto, my latest research into fat fasting, as far as my self-experimentation goes, I've noticed remarkable results, not only in keeping your metabolism up, of making longer fasts easy. Fat fasting has worked miracles. I've had success stories from other people that throw in a single day water fast in the middle of a longer fat fast. So I would start looking into maybe trying some fat fasting for extended periods of time, instead of, because if you do the water fast, what I'm finding at my current level is I'll lose a shit ton of weight. It'll look great while I'm doing it, and then I regain it even on keto back to my set point. And I don't think I'm moving the needle on the set point because I keep shocking the metabolism. So I guess the object is to see what progress I can make without a drop of metabolism. As long as my metabolism stays ramped. And you can ramp it up by overeating keto too. Maybe it's time to do that. Maybe you need to do a reverse diet approach to where you gain a few pounds intentionally on keto, ramp up your weight a bit with keto, not with carbs. It can be done, as I've illustrated this past week, especially post-fast. And then once you feel like you're struggling to overeat, you feel like you're full all the time, you feel very high energy, you're warm to the touch, people touch you and they're like, oh my God, you're fucking burning hot. Yes, that is the time where you can be like, okay, now I can go back to my normal fasting, not do the other extreme. Go back to your normal fasting routine and then see what happens. That's my plan currently. I overate this week intentionally. I ate more than I was hungry. And when I did eat, I did have an appetite because of the long fast. And now in the following week, I might just go back to my default, which is ADF. I like ADF. That's the way I want to spend the majority of my life, is eating every other day and being ketogenic. Those are my goals. So I'm going to go back to that, which is going to be my baseline protocol. And then I want to see what happens. Did the set point come down at all? Because I've dropped my metabolism with the fast. Then I spent a week raising it with the diet, not with exercise. Somebody's going to tell you that. And now I'm going to go back to my baseline. Not another extreme. Not oh shit, I gained this weight, which I did. I gained all the weight back from the fast. And a lot of people will do that and they'll be like, oh, I got to do another fast. Longer this time. No. Now I'm going to go back to baseline where I'm not overeating. And I'm doing my normal routine and see where it stabilizes. I'm going to do that for another week or two, maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month. I don't know. I have to see how things play out and just see where I land. And that is, you can't gauge your set point on the first week after a fast. It's a long-term thing. The set point drops gradually. I've proven that. I've did the year-long plateau, then I got off the standard American diet, and then it slowly has been creeping down since. I'm spending a lot more time in the 180s. I used to spend all my time in the 190s. I'm pretty close to being able to dip my toe in the 170 range during a longer fast. So these are all, every time I do it, I seem to be nudging a little deeper. But I don't want to tank the metabolism to the point where I am just spinning my wheels, to where I'm in a hamster wheel of fasting, which can happen. You can get in a hamster wheel of fasting. And you don't want to be in any hamster wheels. The lower your weight gets, and this is not something that if you got a shit ton of weight to lose, you're not going to run into this. You're going to lose a lot in the beginning, and it's going to be easy. And you're going to do it with like 16 and 8 fasts and 1 meal a day fasts, and so if those are working for you, you should not go any further until they don't. But when you start doing these longer water fasts, you dip in your metabolism, and then it becomes important during the refeed period to ramp your metabolism back up. And the only way to keep a long fast, as far as your results are concerned, to keep the weight loss you got from a long fast, I'm finding the only way to truly keep it is if you can somehow get through the fast without lowering metabolism. Water fast, it's impossible. It's proven every time. If you look at the Minnesota starvation experiment, metabolism drops. If you look at Angus Barberi, or the dude that did the 382-day fast, his metabolism dropped. It stayed there. And then I don't know what he did afterwards, but he kept the weight off afterwards. But I would contend that maybe he lowered his intake to his metabolic level because your metabolism drops. That's the other way of keeping your weight off, by the way. If you do a long fast and you lose a shit ton of weight and your metabolism drops, then you need to lower your intake to that level and stay there. It's going to lead to more hunger. You're going to lower energy. You're going to have all of these symptoms of having a low metabolism. But if you maintain a low enough caloric intake to stay at that level, you won't regain the weight. But you'll want to by the end of it. So, and looks like we touched on a good subject here. JP Lavin, I'm stalled as well. 24-hour fast daily, full keto, 2,100 calories a day. Can't move the needle. So pretty much the same things that I've been saying. Experiment. I've found that now that I'm down close to my goal. Well, I'm at my goal. Let's face it. 180s. I never thought I'd stay in the 180s. When you get down there, you're really, really pushing against a system that doesn't want to change. Your set point, and it's different for everyone. Depends a lot on the damage you did while you were fucked up. But you're fighting that. And it's not a short, quick battle. There's no 7-day challenge that'll make that shit happen. This is a long-term battle. It could take a couple years. You could spend a year, like I did, in a plateau. And then, when you break that plateau, you only move the needle a few pounds. Which is pretty much what has happened. But that few pounds of weight loss and a nice couple inch reduction around the belly is what keeps me inspired that it's not permanent. You're not stuck at that plateau. You just got to be patient, and you got to experiment on ways of manipulating metabolism. And I'm finding the best way to manipulate metabolism is through diet, which could invert. And I'm doing more and more research on the reverse dieting theory, on intentionally eating more calories per day, regaining some weight in the process, but at the same time, your body starts pushing you back the other way, and you'll know it. You get full, you'll get disgustingly full when you eat. You won't be interested in eating. People offer you food and be like, no, I'm not hungry, thanks. That starts happening, and that's your body ramped. You've overate, and your body knows it. And when your body knows that you've taken in too much, it's going to tell you to not eat. It's going to make you full. It's going to stop you from eating. This only happens on a proper ketogenic diet, though. I don't see it. I've never experienced this on a standard American diet or any diet involving high refined carbs, such as bread and pasta and all that shit. There are people that say it can happen with some simpler carb diets. I've even heard people say it can happen with potatoes and that kind of stuff. But for me personally, I think if I introduced those carbs into my diet, I would not be able to ramp my metabolism up. And if you're in the standard American diet, you're fucked. You can't raise your metabolism by overeating. You will do massive amounts of weight gain and damage before you're able to ramp your metabolism up by overeating a standard American diet. And I've experienced that firsthand as well. So, again, Scott, why does Fung say BMR drops so slightly? I don't know the study that he's doing, but I'm talking from personal experience on this. I know my BMR drops. There are also scientific studies that illustrate the drop in metabolic rate. The Minnesota starvation experiment, without fail, even though it was done by our buddy Ansel Keys, is a shithead. This was before he decided that fat was bad for us. But it's one of the rare cases where we were able to study starvation on a scientific level, and they're straight up. Water fast drops metabolic rate. Long fasts drop weight. Short fasts do not, and maybe that's what he's talking about. If you don't fast longer than 72 hours, you're running on mostly glycogen. After 24 hours, your liver is drained of glycogen, and you start making ketones, and it's a sliding scale. Then at some point, your muscle glycogen becomes depleted or down, and your body starts utilizing less blood sugar and more ketones for energy, and you essentially become a fat burner at that point. Your insulin's down. Glucagon can't pull out any more sugar out of your muscle. Well, not sugar, but glucose out of your glycogen stores. And as the body recognizes when it's not getting enough energy, it will ramp up utilizing fat for energy. This takes 72 hours. Any fast under 72 hours, there's a significant glycogen portion, unless you're already fat adapted. I would contend that you do maintain glycogen storage as a keto. You probably have about half the amount of glycogen that a non-keto carb burner has. But you are constantly doing gluconeogenesis no matter what you're eating, and you are refilling glycogen stores by converting protein to glucose, and glycerol, which is a backbone of a fatty acid, to glucose. Those two things are used to keep a baseline glycogen storage. But you're not full. And insulin's the major driver on what mode you're in. So when a chronic low insulin situation happens and your glycogen level starts to deplete, then you shift into this fat burning mode. So whenever cells are not getting the proper amount of energy, I guess this is the bottom line here, and this happens a lot during that 72-hour transition. It's why it's the hardest part of a fast to do. There's going to be cells struggling to get energy because you're shifting energy modes. Some cells are not ready to burn fat and ketones, so they starve. And when cells are starving, metabolism drops. This also happens on the standard American diet, because you're eating stuff. Your fat is insulin sensitive. Your muscles and cells and organs are all insulin resistant, and your fat is insulin sensitive. So your fat gobbles up all the glucose, and your cells don't get shit, and your metabolism drops while you're eating. And then you go to the gym because you're gaining all this weight, and even more energy gets used up and not available, and your metabolism drops further. Or you don't eat enough to pay for your workouts. Metabolism drops there. You're using up more energy. You're not efficiently providing energy to your cells. It's all about giving your cells what they need to work from multiple sources, not just fat, but glucose as well. And anytime a cell is starving, you're at risk of a metabolic drop, no matter what the reason, even if it's fasting. Andrew, I'm going to do more research on the Krebs cycle. I'm not fully versed in the Krebs cycle, but you've piqued my interest. It will be added to my list of shit to do. All right, I think I've made it to 2 hours. Look at that. You guys kept me going with the questions. So I'm going to close out today's live stream. I'm going to not look at chat no more. Let me make sure I got all the super chatters have been taken care of. Alrighty. But remember, as you can clearly tell from this live stream, I am not a fucking expert. I am just an asshole. This live stream and all my videos are designed to get you asking questions, and not just of me, but of everyone. Any other YouTuber that's doing this subject, anyone that needs any kind of help should get that help from multiple sources, do your research, get out there and just completely, question. Because it's our taking things for gospel, from people who authoritatively present knowledge to us, is what led us to this problem, to this obesity epidemic, to the high diet heart hypothesis, to diabetes being out of control. This is all because we did what we were told or what experts were saying. We have to take it into our own hands. The place that I've come health-wise wasn't just by doing what someone told me to do. It was by figuring out how shit worked, how my body worked, how the endocrine system worked, how energy is metabolized when we eat it, and then using those facts, those kind of indisputable facts, as a basis to make decisions off of, and then applying these things to myself and really self-experimenting my way to where I'm at. And it's not over. As you can see, I've always come up with new little problems, and then I go and look for new little solutions for those little problems that don't undo the big solutions I've done before. So I should never be the end point. And, that's why I suggest other people's videos. That's why I talk about different articles I find that people should read. Just keep thinking. Keep evaluating. Keep doing your homework, for your health. And you will save yourself thousands of dollars of health care. You will have a better quality of life as you age. You will be more content. You'll have better mental health. Not great. Nothing's perfect, but better than the standard American diet mental health. And you'll generally improve your life in ways that you previously weren't even aware of because of the problems just being so chronic and there all the time. And it isn't until those have gone away that you really experience this moment of clarity. So I just wanted to leave you guys with that thought. And, I'm not an expert, just an asshole. Please like and subscribe for more shit. Thank you to everyone that came to the fucking live stream. I keep saying podcast. Might as well be. It's a couple hours long. I appreciate it. Also, I got on Snapchat. It's Scottandshit. Look forward to all the wonderful things that I'll be sent through Snapchat at some point. I don't know if I'm keeping Snapchat, but we'll see. And have a nice motherfucking day. And shit. And have a nice weekend. And then wait patiently if you are interested in seeing the credits that I have to end the video with so I don't end the fucking podcast abruptly and shit. All right. Let's see here. There we go.